Conversations with Craig and Kobie.
Welcome to another impactful episode of
Conversations with
Craig and Kobie.
Craig and Kobie.
My name is Craig King.
I am L. Kobie the Wiz, and this is Straight Up Out the Mud. This is our second conversation. I just dated us.
But, you just dated it, but it's all right.
It's all cool.
We're going to keep it going.
Yeah, it's our second conversation. And so today we have a piece. This is a podcast and a YouTube channel. So we have the video and the audio. And so for the people who are listening audibly, on the audio, we do a piece entitled, What Are We Wearing? So we try to give you an idea because you can't see us of what we got on. So today I am rocking a camo hat. I have on my Kentucky State University education shirt and some Kentucky State University sweatpants. You know what I mean? So that is what I am rocking. That's what I'm wearing. And I'm sitting on this couch over here. Craig, what you got on, man?
Man, I am representing my HBCU, South Carolina State University, home of the Mighty Bulldogs, tenacious Bulldogs, and my gray suede Vans and some blue jeans.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're rocking. Shout out to HBCU culture.
Shout out to HBCU culture.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
this is like real conversations, guys. I know we keep going back there, but I really want you to understand that these are conversations that we have never had before. And I'm gonna speak to it. Our videographer, Shantae Darby, shout out to
Kingdom Culture. We in the building. Yeah.
So right before we came on, Shantae was like, what's really bugging me out is that y'all really don't really know each other in depth like that.
Right.
And so like the conversations are literally conversations that we've never had before.
Right.
We've always been friends.
Yes.
And I think in totality, since 2011 when we met, we've had probably 10 conversations on the phone, maybe. And so it's, he was like, that's really cool. And I was like, when we record this episode, I just want you guys to know, these are real conversations.
They're real conversations, and they're done this way on purpose. Like, so we have a topic and we have a timer.
Right.
Like, that's it. And so we have thought about the topic, but we have purposely not talked about the topic with each other because we want this conversation to be authentic and real. So we really don't know where it's going to go. And the whole purpose of this podcast is to show you, and YouTube channel, to show you the magic that happens in a conversation and to really kind of be present in that and be open to where the conversation goes.
What's on the other side? As Kobie likes to reference.
What's on the other side?
What's on the other side of the conversation?
Yeah, so we don't know. And this whole process was kicked off by a book that I wrote called Learning Happens Through Conversations, the 5 leadership lessons for masterful living. So
he wrote in 7 days, if y'all don't remember.
Yes.
7 days.
7 days.
And I was there for the journey.
Absolutely. So check that out. Go grab that on Amazon. And support your boy.
Yeah.
But like I said, we have a topic and a timer. And if this is your first piece, the timer is set for 40 minutes.
Yep.
And
we won't go over that.
We will not go over that. And so wherever we are at the end of 40 minutes is where we are. So I try to keep a little eye on it just so we can kind of wrap up the way we need to wrap up. So we don't know where it's going to go. So we have a topic, we got a timer, and the topic today is
Straight Out the Mud.
Straight Out the Mud. And the timer begins now.
You hit it a few times.
Yeah, hit it a few times.
We got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So
there we go.
Straight Out the Mud.
So let's talk about where that came from, right? So
that'd be a good place.
Right. Let's begin there. So I don't know if you are a fan out there of hip hop, rap, whatever. I listen to everything. So I got gospel on my stuff. I got jazz. I got some classical, kids music, all of that. So I got a real good collection of music. But one of my favorite dudes here has been Toby Inwigwe. Inwigwe. Yeah, that's he's Nigerian. So if you ain't heard of Toby Inwigwe, shout out, check him out. Just Google him.
Because you hadn't heard the song yet.
I hadn't heard the song.
And I told you about it. Because one of my boys, shout out to, I think my boy James. I think James Frazier, shout out to James. I know he's listening. But I think he sent me, him or Rob sent me the song. And I heard it the other day. And then when we were brainstorming topics the other day, I was like, dude, you heard the song.
Right. So this got moved up.
It got moved up.
It got moved up.
It wasn't even in the docket.
Even in the docket.
It wasn't in the docket.
For those, like, it really wasn't.
It wasn't in the docket.
Even a doc. But I heard the song.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about the song.
And I said, woo! I said, because we were talking about business and how people pay you, not on the process.
Right.
And we were talking about the song. I said, Kobie, people don't pay for the mud.
Right. And that just made me just literally get out my seat.
Literally
jumped out of his seat and ran. I was like, oh, that's right. Because people, right, they don't pay you for the mud. They want
what process. They don't pay you for that.
Like they, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? They want what's on the other side of that. But listening to his song, and I mean, he could have meant something different. It could be something to the SWAT, but that's the beautiful thing about like music, you know what I'm saying? And words, right? Words, period. So they mean what they mean to you. So when I heard that, and then we started having a little bit of talk about the mud, I was like, okay, that's it.
We got to stop.
We got to stop.
Because these are authentic conversations. We were like, we can't go.
It was like, boy, like, don't say no more. Like, don't say no more. Like, save it. Like, just save it. And so I could not wait to have this conversation, which is because when I think about the mud, I was like, okay, this is going to be the HBCU edition.
Right.
Right. Because, so for me, like the mud is where, like, what happens in the mud and like how mud is made, and then like what mud can be used for with the healing process, and to pull the stuff out, and how animals use it to cover them, to protect them. You know what I mean? So like all of the meanings of coming straight up out of the mud. You know what I mean? Like so. When I was thinking about it, and what made me jump up out of my seat, literally, was the fact that people don't often want to be in mud because they think like mud makes you dirty. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like don't make, like it messes stuff up. But often too, like mud can help you. Like, the process of making mud is water and dirt, right? Water and dirt, two simple things, but
that's exactly where I was going to go next. I was just going to say, that dry dirt. And dry dirt is dry dirt. There's really no process in that. But when you add water, then if there happens to be a seed that was in that dry dirt.
Come on.
And you happen to put that water with that, then you have created an environment conducive
where something
for
can
growth. Now, it may not look like it. You gonna play the I thought you was about to go to church with the organ, Kobie. So let's think about that. So that water and that dry dirt, that mud, and that seed, you have cultivated and created an environment for growth, even though it still may not look like something can grow there.
Right.
That process that you're in, whatever it is,
it's growing you.
It's going to grow you if you are patient with the process. And you discipline yourself. Going back to episode 1, when you talk about discipline.
Yes. That discipline that, will save you. Like, that's why discipline is important, because motivation won't always be there. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to Stick Man.
You referenced him?
Yeah. STIC.
I'm glad you shared that playlist with me.
Oh, yeah. If you ain't, hey, listen, bruh.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I think that is Like that is the magic. So when you talk about straight up out of mud and really talking about the process. So what I really thought about is the process that's necessary for your success to show up, whatever that looks like, right? And his song was $1 million.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And we don't...
So here it is. So, right, this is the beautiful thing again, right? We see things as we are. Not as they are.
Right.
Right. And so if they don't tell us, then it's like, okay, so is he talking about $1 million? Is he talking about 1 million followers? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is he talking about? 1 million likes? Like, what is he talking about? A million records sold? Like, we don't know. But it's 1 million. You know what I mean?
It's 1 million. I like that it was open. And he did say some things within the song, but
Mama
for me, right. The chorus, I think it opens it up for us, not just me and you, but our listeners,
everybody,
to look at straight out in the mud. What is the mud that I'm currently in right now?
What's growing me?
What's growing me, even though it may not seem like it's growing me. Because if I put on mud, like you were saying, some animals use it to cover themselves for, different structural adaptations.
Yeah.
I'm a third grade teacher. Shout out to the third grade teacher. I'm about to go deep.
Shout out to all the educators.
Structural and behavioral adaptations that animals use to survive or whatever. But anyway, if I put on mud and walked into a store, people would look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, why you got that mud on?
And in that same thought, when people are privy or know about some of the mud that you're currently going through, they may not see the growth that's happening while you're covered in that mud. And so we all have those situations that we have been through or currently going through.
Right. The mud of our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
But the necessary mud.
The necessary mud. The mud that's needed, right? That you don't recognize at the time. The messes that we get ourselves in.
Right.
That eventually grow us.
Right. So is there unintentional and intentional mud?
Yes.
What you say?
Absolutely.
Because our choices
put us in situations
that could be mud.
That could be mud, right? Could be a mess.
Yeah. But you referenced that. I think it goes back to what you were talking about feelings in our last podcast. Sometimes it's a choice.
It's a choice.
And to feel a certain way. And so if we choose to make certain decisions that land us in mud, it also means that that's an opportunity.
It is.
Because nobody can live life the exact way that they plan it, right?
Right. So you start talking about like the magic of the stuff that wasn't supposed to be, that ends up being, which ends up making you or getting you to certain situations that you wouldn't have otherwise been in, right? So like that goes back to really like, what do you believe? Like what grounds us, right? So when we were talking about, our COVID experiences, you know what I mean? Like COVID of the body versus COVID of the mind, like what really grounds you and allows you to be able to rise up out of that situation better than you went into it. So what are the beliefs that keep us and the values that allow us to make it through situations and circumstances that could either crush us, but instead of crushing us, it creates something. Right? It creates something that's magical. So being in that situation, like it could have crushed me.
Right.
But it was my belief system that all things work together for my good. Like I don't see it. I don't really understand it, but I know like this is working some good. Like I know there's something for me to get out of this on the other side. Like that was a muddy situation. And what mud does, like you can't really see in mud. Like you can't see what's in mud. Like mud is different than water. You know what I mean? Water is clear, like down in the Caribbean, like you can see through the bottom, but like you could take water in a muddy situation, like you can't really see, and it's tough and it's, you know what I mean, wading through. So like that was like a muddy situation.
And sometimes you have to make decisions in mud.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't see with your natural eye.
You got to reach. You got to use your other senses, you know what I mean, to navigate you through.
Right.
It may not be the senses that you want to use.
Come on.
Right? So I would like to see my way through.
That's my preference.
Right? I would love to see. I want to see it, but I can't see it, but I might have to feel my way through this thing. You know what I mean? Or I might have to like be quiet and like close my eyes and like listen. And being in mud doesn't allow me to go as quick as I would like to go, because I gotta be careful about where I step and make sure that it's grounded. So this analogy and metaphor is off the chain. Like, I'm glad we picked this. It's good. We can go a whole bunch of places with this.
While you were talking, I was thinking about those situations where when you are in charge of or responsible for young people. You know, we're both teachers by trade and we work with children, in our professions.
And teachers. Now we're at this point where
we're working with teachers
and leaders.
So sometimes when I think about the third grade students I taught and the mud that they were in, whatever that was, situations at home or whatever, and sometimes you have to create that environment, that you have to cultivate that mud for them and be that sense for them, one of those 5 senses for them.
Right.
And I think about a chant that we repeated every day in the classroom with my third graders. It really started my third year teaching when I had a student teacher for the first time, and it was called Bad in the Kingdom. Okay. Now, I wasn't calling my students bad, right? We had to take the power out of the word because they had processed that word as the negative part of it as something that they were. And so, me and Mr. Moss, shout out to Andre Moss, my first student teacher down in Orangeburg at Whitaker Elementary School. We came up with this chant called Bad in the Kingdom and it goes, the only bad allowed in the kingdom is brilliance, achievement, and destiny. The only bad allowed in this kingdom are awesome people like you and me. I'm brilliant. I use my mind to think. Achievement is what schoolwork will bring. Destiny says be what I want to be. I can do anything if I believe in me. So in a situation where, bad in the kingdom.
Keep going. Keep going.
I'll give you the words later.
Keep going.
Bad in the kingdom. So brilliant achievers reaching their destiny. And so that chant, that mud that, a lot of my students were in, whether they were retained, whether they were in a single household, whether they were, they had lost a parent, whether they had gone through whatever they were going through in life, it was my job as their teacher to cultivate that experience. They were my seed, right? They were in the mud and I was responsible for pouring that water on them, because if they were just in dry dirt, they weren't really going to get anywhere. If I wasn't able to drop that water per se in my belief in them to be able to do anything that they could do and being brilliant and not bad, it shows the importance of having people and not going at it alone. Having those people that can pour the water on your situation and say, we're going to make something of this. You may not see it right now, what's on the other end, but trust me, And
I think it's taking a dirty situation, right?
Right.
Add a little water to it.
Add a little water to it.
And it looks like what you're making is a bigger mess.
Right.
Right. But what you really are is creating an environment for something to grow. Yeah. So I wrote that down because I didn't want to forget it, but I didn't want to interrupt you either. But I wrote down the power of belief. Like belief is all of that. Like that, it made me think about, right, this protocol I do, which is called, what do you believe? And I do it with teachers and organizations and folks, because I think at the heart of what we do, we operate out of our beliefs, whether we know it or not. Like, so, people do stuff because they believe it, right? People eat meat or don't eat meat because they believe something, right? So people go work out at a gym because they believe something.
Yeah.
But the thing is getting to the understanding to have that conversation with ourselves of, are we really doing and operating out of what we believe? And the other part of even knowing, like, are you really conscious of what you believe and why you do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you were talking about with the kids and the affirmation, like, because words are powerful, they mean something. One of the wizisms, is I say what other people say to and about you means something, but what you say to and about yourself means everything. Right? And so understanding what you believe, like, what are you saying to yourself and about yourself that is enhancing what you really believe,
right?
That's in you, that needs to come out.
I could be getting ahead of myself asking you this, but I want you to go there because you kind of opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
You have this thing you say, I talk to myself.
Yes.
So that ties directly into what you just were talking about.
Right.
So talk to the people about that.
Right. So I talk to myself. So I got this book that is coming. Right. We talk about one of the books that you've been working on. Like, I thought this was going to be the book. I thought it ought to be done. But I do these morning affirmations that I started a while ago. And the first hashtag was hashtag I talk to myself, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of living out what I believe, right? Yeah. I believe that the words you say to and about yourself. So I would be putting these posts on Instagram, on Facebook, and, it would just vary. Like, I have a whole bunch of them here in my phone. So let me just go ahead and give y'all some of the good stuff. Let me just give you one of the morning messages. But so here's one. It says, I want you to begin to be more precise with your words. You don't need to get your life together. You need to organize your information in a way that is going to be able to provide for you. You really do have enough content to provide for you. You just have to organize it so we'll monetize. I've given you the information. Now you just have to digest it and internalize it and put it into action for you.
So what does that look like in the mud?
Right? So what often happens is, I believe we talk ourselves into and out of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that actually was one of the pieces that I was talking to myself, because I had a tendency to be like wordy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I do this is one of the things I did with the exercises, right? So if you would give advice to you, like, what would you say to you? Right? We know the issue. Like, so what are you going to do? So I was like, you know what? What I tell myself? I would tell myself, like, be more precise with your words. Like, you don't need to get, because I would often say, like, I got to get my life together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it was like, you don't need to get your life together. What you need to do is organize the information in a way that's going to be able to provide for you, right? Because I'm just like, I got all this stuff and this content. And then it says, and then I would question myself, like, do I really got enough? Is it ready? Is it, what I need to do? So that voice that speaks to us, you know what I mean? That self-doubt, that fear, like, you ain't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you ain't really ready. You know what I mean? And so understanding that, I was like, you really do have enough content to provide for you. You just have to organize it so it will monetize. Like, so that's a whole nother deep conversation. Like, so how do we organize in a way where you provide value?
Because it's easy to do that, especially when you are in the mud. And I think when we think about mud, it's a continuous place to be if you're continually evolving and growing. And so it's easy to have that self-doubt, because there are things that I have done that have not only monetized for me and my family and for me, but they have inspired and motivated other people and provided an opportunity for them that they wouldn't otherwise have. Mm-hmm. And I have talked myself out of either starting or continuing or finishing those things because of self-doubt. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to talk about to be intentional about the words you speak to yourself when you're talking to yourself.
Yes.
Because, that becomes who you are.
Yeah, you become, like what you think. There is a poem by Frank Outlaw. And the poem says...
Put in my notes, y'all. Now I'm going to scroll.
I must watch my thoughts because my thoughts become my words.
Frank Outlaw.
I must watch my words because my words become my actions. I must watch my actions because my actions become my habits. I must watch my habits because my habits become my character. And I must watch my character because my character becomes my destiny. Right? So what you think you say you do, what you do you become known by, and what you become known by dictates your future.
Right.
Right? So there's a famous book, right, that's spent thousands of years. It wraps it up like this, and it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So you are what you speak, right? But more importantly, you are what you think. You know what I mean? And then I think it was Norman Vincent Peale wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh. Super dopeness. If you haven't picked that up, go grab that. But yeah, man, so what you thought, what you think, and what you say definitely impacts what you do. You know what I mean? And so this whole idea of coming like straight out the mud, like people don't like mud. So, you know what I mean? Thinking about, Kobie and, coming out of, I think he's from Houston, you know what I mean? And just the whole process of how when you come up out of something, like people see you shine and they see the end process. You know what I mean? But I just love the way he framed that. Like, I got my first million. You know what I'm saying? Straight out the mud. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got it straight out the mud. You know what I'm saying? Which is in the space. And I just appreciate his journey and him being authentic in what he wanted to provide. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
because I think we see people when we had a really brief conversation about this and we stopped it because of the podcast, but sometimes we see these overnight successes.
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, oh, where did this person come from?
Like he just came up.
This song or this leadership guru, it just came out of nowhere, but they have literally been in the mud 15, 20 years.
Doing it.
I think about Anthony Hamilton. Like, I remember a lot of people think his first album is coming from where I'm from, when it's really Soul Life. He did some other stuff before that too, but like a lot of people don't know about Soul Life. Soul Life is a great Anthony Hamilton album. If you don't have it, go check it out. But, just artists, people like me and you, people that are entrepreneurs, workpreneurs that work 9 to 5, but also entrepreneurs. A lot of people have literally been in the mud, doing things, working.
Yeah, and I think that is like a powerful piece because you think that, and people look at Kobie now and they're like, oh, this dude done blew up. But if you go back and look at his other albums, like this dude been working. He's been working on his craft. He's been working on, his talent, his skill, honing that joint. But I am. You know what I mean? I'm proud of this, bruh, because he is authentically himself. Right? The stuff that he's poured into himself, and he's just like, I'm just not gonna compromise that.
Right.
Like, I'm about Black people. You know what I'm saying? I'm about the forward motion of Black people. Like, and I'm gonna put this in my music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And not that it's that I'm not for everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, what is one on this album? I think it's Safe Home Safely, one of the ones. And he was just like, shout out to everybody who's been exposed, all the racists, You know what I mean? I love it. It's a beautiful time to be Black. Like, that's what he was saying in this thing. But I just think that there is something attractive and admirable about people who are authentically who they are, right? Whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Like you being comfortable enough in your own skin to be you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that like part of the reason why there is no script for this, right, is because I wanted that to show up in the conversations that we're having. And to not to be trying to like put on airs, you know what I mean? Not be trying to like, we're trying to impress you.
Right.
Like I'm trying to say this so that I sound so smart and articulated, or I'm about to make this deep point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like this setup, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is a time and a space and maybe even a place for that, but
not here.
I didn't want it to be here. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to be.
We didn't want that at all.
You know what I mean? And it is so funny because I was at one school and I spent 3 days there, and one of the leaders, the principal, he was like hosting me, and so we end up just like going to dinner. We would spend time lunch, and then I was doing like the PDs with the teachers. It was a 3-day retreat, so I was doing PD, but we got to spend a lot of time together. And then like it was like on the 3rd day, he said, "Bro, don't take this the wrong way, but like you really not fronting." And I was like, "Huh?" He was like, "Nah, man, like you really not front. Like, you know, we brought people in before, and they was like one way in front of teachers and another way, you know what I mean? But like, I done spent time with you, relax. Like, you know, we end up, you know, chilling in the lobby at your hotel, just talking about education and stuff, and like you really real, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I just appreciate that. And I was like, bro, like this is who I am.
That's who
like,
I am.
But I don't have, but it's easy that way because then I don't have to try to remember to be somebody else.
But let me tell you why that's important for us to talk about. Because when it comes to Toby, you, myself, whoever, that, you know, people may see, oh, Craig is doing this, or Kobie's doing this, or whatever. As that seed of who we are grows, right? There's still some connection. That root is still
tied to
that process that we went through. But it's easy to say, the people you were referring to that the principal was saying, sometimes we bring in people that are 2 different ways. Some people feel like they need to remove themselves from that process that they went through, that mud they went through, to say, okay, now I'm good. I have germinated, using my 3rd grade term. I have germinated, fully germinated. I'm good. I don't need to be connected to that anymore. But I think there's power, not to say that mud is bad or whatever, but it's important to stay tied to that, because sometimes when we do have those moments of doubt, you know what? Hey, Roots, can y'all send me something up real quick?
Right, I'm grounded.
I'm grounded so I can go back and say, hey, I need to go back to when I was struggling, right? I need to go back and remember where I really came from, and the people that were there, the people that poured water on me, the people that cultivated me, the people that helped me grow. Because as long as I'm connected to that, I can always be who I am authentically.
I am, right?
I am who I am. And no amount of success can change that.
So
I'm going to remain who I am.
Right. So here is the book that's coming, and that's so good. So the hashtag, I talk to myself. So the hashtag, I talk to myself, the title, the full title of the book is hashtag, I talk to myself, Volume 1. Reshaping internal conversations to declare I am, right? To declare whatever you are, right? Whatever you say that you are. So what you just said made me think about when I was in Atlanta and I was going to New Birth, and the pastor then was Bishop Long. He used to say, like, it's important that you climb the mountain. He said, and now what people want to do, they want to be helicoptered to the top.
Yeah.
He said, and you can be helicoptered to the top of the mountain. He said, but the problem with being helicoptered to the top of the mountain is that when you fall off the mountain, or you somehow end up at the bottom of the mountain, you don't know your way back up. Right? So there is power in this the struggle and going the way of the process, right? So the way I put it is like, struggle is where you get your strength. Like, it's the resistance. Like, it's the lifting of the weights. You struggling and get the muscles strong. Like, that's how you strong. Like, people don't want to struggle, but that's the only way you get strong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so being tied to the roots or understanding where you grow from, getting to the peak of where you are, like, don't discount the value and be intentional about remembering what it took to grow you to where you are, coming up out of the mud to the point where you see sunshine and water, all of that stuff. So I think that process and what it took for you to get to that, your present place, should not be discounted or devalued, like, at all. And I think, so there's a, you know what I mean, homage and honor should always be paid to that.
Absolutely. So, and I'm thinking about my pastor now.
Shout out to Kentucky State that helped grow.
Yeah, shout out to Kentucky State.
Kentucky State University.
Shout out to South Carolina State University.
Absolutely.
The best HBCU, but we won't have the argument. We won't have the argument right now.
Okay.
But like I was saying, so I write about in my book, The Path to Exceptional Living, 15 Lessons to Live an Extraordinary Life. Pick it up on Amazon or on my website.
Absolutely. Go get that.
I remember talking to Pastor Sim, and when we were currently in the mall, and how he talked about how he had to learn so many different things about building code, structure, just so many different things that he didn't have to learn while we were in the mall, because, you know, he didn't have to learn those things. And how important it was for him to know those things going into that space, because he saw what was coming. Not just in that space, but what may come later. So sometimes you have to intentionally learn things you may not see value in currently.
Come on.
Because it's going to provide clarity later.
Yes. So what you're going through right now is really building you for something bigger and better.
Right. So
So when you start thinking about, like, why am I going through this? Like, why am I dealing with all of this stuff? Like, it's because you focused on the thing right now, but it's really for your later. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important to know that when you're on a consistent journey, like life is learning, life is always about trying to get bigger, get better, understanding what you are to give, you know, what you have to offer, the value that you're supposed to give and bring, recognizing when you are in that phase, that what I'm going through right now is building me for something bigger and different. So,
because, like, even those things that in that process, and using that example, that information or that new learning that you are taking place in, that's actually that good mud.
Yeah.
You know, because it's growing you, it's helping you develop, it's helping you grow, and it's necessary. But sometimes you have to take the initiative to do it, because you don't necessarily have to. You can pay somebody else to do it, or not even worry about it. Hey, I pay you to do this. You just do it.
Yeah.
And I just go in and I just turn the lights on. But if I know how it works, it's not only going to be applicable to that moment of learning codes and all that kind of stuff. But when I am responsible for building people, some of those same lessons are applicable. And he didn't share that, but I believe that he probably thinks that too. And I definitely got that from that conversation.
So what you just said, like is really like pull what I was getting ready to say, which is this. The lessons that we get from the immediate information, so the building codes, all of that stuff, right? That we think it doesn't have anything to do with the stuff that we're really trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Like, we don't think that it really has to do with anything, or like it's part of that, but indirectly, right? Like the detail, right? The behind the stuff that is indirectly connected. So that's the thing. So don't often focus on what it is that you initially are going through and the stuff that you don't necessarily have to do, but be intentional and step back and be able to open your perspective and say, what is it and how can I connect this to what it is that I'm really trying to do? Like how can I pull from that, you know what I'm saying, the analogy, the metaphor, and put it on top of that so that I can find that connection.
Right.
So, that was,
that's good.
Yeah, that was good when you and I was already thinking about that whole connection piece, man. Like, yeah, so
straight out the mud,
bro. Like, you know what I mean? So what are the situations that you are in right now that you think are muddy, but are really growing you to be what you need to be for yourself and others? Like, that is the question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you going through right now that's like, no, I don't really necessarily want to be here. I don't even think
I'm here.
I don't even think I should be here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
because I didn't even make a choice to be here.
Right.
So we talked about the choice part of it.
Yeah. But
then sometimes we're put in situations on mud.
Yeah. But even if you're not, like, that is the whole point of choosing, making a choice to literally make the best of the situation, right? Understanding that what is won't always be.
Yeah.
Like,
and I know our time is running down.
Yeah, we got a minute 30. We got a minute 38.
So I literally, because I'm a people person, I'm used to going and being around people. I felt like my energy and creativity was tied to like being out of my house. But what the quarantine taught me was that I can be creative anywhere I put my mind to.
Right.
Like, if I choose to be creative, I can do it at home.
Yes.
Or if I can do it while I'm driving my car. And so,
yes.
Kobie, we only got a minute, 10 seconds, and we got housekeeping to do. So we might need to do a Out the Mud
Part 2.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Or maybe we can incorporate it somewhere else.
Yeah, so we got 60 seconds.
We got 60 seconds. So my good people out there, make sure you following us. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Shout out to our fellow HBCUs, South Carolina State University,
Kentucky State University.
Shout out to Kingdom Culture. All of our information is right here. I won't repeat it. All of it's right here. Follow us.
Follow us.
If you want to sponsor this podcast, reach out to us at the email listed below.
Yes.
Again, this has been another impactful episode of
Conversations with Craig and Kobie. Till next time, y'all.
I'm Craig.
I'm Kobie.
All right. We'll catch y'all next time.
Deuces.
Conversations with Craig and Kobie.